how would you like to make your first million? Today we have David Nassief with us, and he specialized in second act seven-figure recovery after being fired at 63 and facing a negative 10 employability. He engineered a millionaire turnaround by age of 69. Here, and he's going to share the 5 steps to that his own formula to make your first million. And this you're here for a trip because he did it after being fired at 63. That's very impressive. So tell us, David, what are the 5 steps?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Well, Harry, thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited about being here today. I have a one-page wealth compass. My 5 steps are right on it. So this is like the easiest question on the planet for me. The first one is live on less than you earn. I can tell you stories, and I will in the show if you like, of people who make tens of millions of dollars a year, and end up retired broke because they didn't learn this one principle, live on less than you earn. That is critical. The second one is debt freedom. I believe in paying me the interest. I want to earn the interest. I don't want to pay it to other people, make them rich. I want to make me rich, okay, by paying me the interest. So if I get out of debt, I can start paying me the interest instead of somebody else. 3D investment strategy. It's really critical that once you get out of debt, you got to start investing, okay? Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels. And I have a very simple investment system. And then the next one is a set it and forget it approach. I don't want to invest all my time, my mental energy thinking about Wall Street and if I'm going to make money and do I have to make moves. I want to set it and forget it. And that's an approach I strongly believe in. The last one is verify before you trust. There's a lot of conflicts of interest out there. And for 40 years, I fell for them. And a lot of people want you to do things because it makes them rich, not necessarily you rich. And so first of all, you got to verify before you start trusting the advice you're getting.
Maybe now I want to hear the story. So what happened? Well, you fired at 63. Now at 69, you're a millionaire. How you made this? How that works?
I'll tell you.
I need to share the story with my dad.
Okay, I'll do that. First of all, as you said, I was 63. I just got fired after 18 years with the same company. I wouldn't wish that day on anybody. Harry, when I did the math, I realized if we drained all of our savings and all of our retirement, we would be scheduled to be broke by 65. I tell you, that was a nightmare experience. I'm thinking, who's going to hire me at my age? But that wasn't even the hardest part, Harry. The hardest part was driving home thinking, how am I going to tell my wife, Mary? We'd been married for 30 years, and she did not deserve the mess I just threw our life into. So anyways, after several months of data and job searching, and I'll be honest, my heart wasn't in it. I did not want to go back to the corporate world. I just hated the thought of doing it, but I had to put food on the table. I had to put a roof over my head. I just didn't have the luxury of just sitting back. So I went out and started and nobody would hire me. They all confirmed that the company that fired me did the right thing because I'm of no value to the corporate world, at all. And so anyway, I'm thinking, what am I going to do? So then I decided to take a huge risk. And I went to work as an independent sales agent on straight commission. No salary, no safety net, no benefits. The first months were brutal. Cold calls, constant rejection, rookie mistakes. I heard so many no's. I can't count the number of no's I heard those first few months. But Harry, looking back on it, I can reflect on it now. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but all those no's, all that resistance I was getting, I believe were helping me build the mental muscles I needed to punch through that situation and literally become unstoppable, as you say, and make it. Anyways, after 10 months of grinding, I hit an incredible milestone. I was suddenly making more money than my good paying corporate salary. And for a brief moment, I thought, we made it. But then I thought, we didn't make nothing because you know what, Harry? I've been making good money for 40 years. And look where it got me, on the verge of financial collapse. I said, I need to learn how to invest. I need to learn how to build wealth because I didn't know that. And I couldn't afford to listen to any more conflicts of interest, people trying to sell me on their stuff so they can get rich, not me. So I dug in. I read 21 books on finance. I listened to 13 podcasts faithfully. I read blogs. I read newsletter. Every time I got a good idea, I put it on one piece of paper. I kept filling that one piece of paper up with good ideas. Once it filled up, I committed. I'm not going on beyond one piece because I want to keep it simple. So when I got a better idea, I took the worst one off and put the better one on, and I kept refining it until it was a set it and forget it approach. 6 years later, I hit what I thought was impossible. From terrified of being broke to a 7-figure portfolio and real financial freedom. Harry, I now know it is never too late to rewrite your story. Because if I can pull that off starting as late as 63, anybody can with the right direction. I truly believe that.
Wow, that's very impressive, David. So proud of you. So here's the thing, okay? The entrepreneurs in this podcast are the 500 millionaires interview people that make million, lose it, make million, lose it.
Yeah.
So clearly, they have the capacity to make money as an entrepreneur. Now, make money is one thing, keeping it is completely different story. You're a good entrepreneur, salesperson, good whatever, you make your millions. How are you going to keep it? Now you have to become a good investor. And this is completely different skill set that actually generating the money. So, and we, all the entrepreneurs, you see them out there, they make money, they reinvest in the business. They make money, they reinvest in the business. They make money, they reinvest in the business. And one day, COVID happened, anything happened, and after 3 months, they go to zero. And you see again and again because they haven't done the second part. We want all the entrepreneurs to be healthy, wealthy, and happy like you are. So tell us a little bit more about that journey when you say, I made it, but actually I haven't. I'm only halfway. So how do you get this breakthrough? Because nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
We have in this podcast investors. Clearly, I always said investors, they are good entrepreneurs. Okay, that's the reason why they're investors. They're good entrepreneurs in the way they understand the numbers, they understand the risk, they understand the vehicle. However, good entrepreneurs doesn't mean that they are good investors. There is a learning process. So tell us a little bit more when you realize that you haven't made it yet, that you're only halfway. And look, you're 63. Now you're making your first million with 65, and now you have to keep it.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. I was lucky, Harry, when this was in the middle of this nightmare, and it was a nightmare, believe me, financially anyways. I heard a story that I like. It's very brief, and I want to share it with your listeners because I think it was part of my turnaround, a big part of it. Scientists at the Max Planck Institute did an experiment. What they did is they placed people in the center of a dense German forest, and they told them to walk in a straight line to the edge. Now, these were confident and capable people, but when the clouds covered the sun and they lost their point of reference, the GPS tracking they were wearing showed they were gradually starting to walk in circular motions. Some of them were ending up right back where they began. And yet, Harry, every one of them was convinced they were walking in a perfectly straight line. Harry, that's my story for 40 years. I was making good money, working hard, doing what I thought was good when it came to investing, but I was simply going in circles, going nowhere, ending up on the cliff of a financial disaster at 63. I said to myself, that's what I need. I need a compass, but not a mental compass like traveler's shoes. I needed a one-page compass because I needed to keep my in the right direction. I'll admit to you, Harry, I'm the kind of guy that gets distracted easy. Shiny object, investment tip, and I'm off to the races in the wrong direction, okay? And that was me for 40 years going in circles.
Welcome to my life.
Good. But I said to myself, I don't have the runway anymore to make those kind of mistakes. I'm 63. It was more like a helicopter pad than a runway. I didn't have that room to make those mistakes. So that's when I said to myself, I need to get this compass. And that's when I started to do what I said, reading the books, writing it down, and it made a tremendous amount of difference. I'll tell you one of the things it did, and people don't believe this, and I can tell you how I did it if you want. I doubled my portfolio 3 times in a 6-year period. Most financial people would say, that's impossible, David. The market didn't increase that much. But I promise you, I wasn't day trading. I wasn't chasing crypto. I wasn't trying to time the market. I was doing something so boring, it would put you to sleep. I found a system, an approach. And I'll tell you, when the market was down, I was thrilled. When other people were panicking and selling, I was buying more shares at discount prices. My only regret was the market wasn't down more during that 6-year period. But I'm going to tell you, it wasn't the returns that really made the difference. It was the math that surprised me. There's a thing called the rule of 72. And what it says is if you're getting a 10% return on your money will double every 72 months, or every 7.5 years, or every 86 months. Okay. My first double, once I got my compass, occurred in just 30 months. The second one, 13. The third one, 29, for an average of 24 months, way less than half the 86 months expected time period. But the secret wasn't the returns. I was doing 3 things I finally figured out after 40 years. Okay, I'm a little slow to catch on sometimes. Okay. The first one is, I know this sounds like a cliche, but I did pay myself first. When I got my paycheck, I took a portion right off the top and says, okay, before I start spending money, this is going, okay, to the savings. Secondly, I got involved in the right kind of investments. And for me, it was low-cost index funds. Here I only own 2. That's how complicated my system is. 2. One, I own the entire U.S. market, everything publicly traded stock, I own a piece of it. And 2, I own everything outside the United States of publicly traded companies. So, Harry, I literally own every publicly traded stock on the planet. For me to go to zero, the entire world economic system would have to collapse to nothing.
Absolutely.
And if that happens, we have bigger problems than my portfolio. and the third thing that I want to mention to your listeners is...
So that's what you did?
Yeah, I own every share in the entire United States and outside the United States. Everyone in England, everyone in Europe, everyone all over. But I can do it cheaply with an index fund, a low-cost index. For under $100 on some of these, you can buy a share and you'll have a little tiny piece of every company. So you're so diversified, it's so safe. The opposite of risk, okay? The last thing I want to mention I did is I use market volatility to work for me instead of against me. So many people use their emotions to buy. That's why they buy high and sell low, which is the opposite of what you want to do. And it's what I did for 40 years, by the way. I did the opposite. I said to myself, no more of that. I love it when the market's down. Think about this, Harry. If you were to go to a department store and they had a 50% off sale, you wouldn't go up to the clerk and say, hey, I don't want no 50% off. I want to pay full retail. When's it going back? You wouldn't say it. You'd be crazy. They'd take it off to the nut house. But on the stock market, people do it all the time. Oh, the market's down 50%. Oh, I got to get out, get to cash. No, that's when you want to buy because everything's on sale. For 200 years, the market, every time it's gone down, it's not only fully recovered, it's gone on to new heights. 200 years of data is good enough for me, Harry. I feel pretty safe with that approach. And so basically what I was able to do was end the cycle of buying high and selling low. And I was able to build my wealth twice as fast. And here's the important part, with half the risk. And that's critical in my book, half the risk.
Maybe basically what you did is you have an index participation in all the companies, but those ones that they were going down, did you invest more on those ones?
Yeah, well, I just kept buying. What I did is I didn't try to time the market. I just bought every month. When I got my paycheck, I pay myself once a month. I took it off and put it in my investment accounts. And here's how easy it is. Here's how easy my investment is. It takes me 5 minutes a month. I pay myself once a month, okay? And when it hits my checking account, I take a portion of it and I transfer it over to my investment accounts. Some of it goes into the U.S. market. Some of it goes to the international market. I click out of it and I'm done for the whole month. That takes me 5 minutes. Do I need a financial advisor for that deal? 5 minutes. That's all it takes. I don't pay any fees to anybody. It's pretty much all mine. I apologize for that. And that's how it works, okay? I'm so sorry.
Maybe, but when you move that money from the financial account, then you buy shares, right? But these shares that you buy, they are specifically those ones that you see a huge decrease, or what's the criteria?
Some years the market was up and I was buying them full retail. Some years the market was down and I was getting discounts. I didn't try to time the market. That's so key. I'm not smart enough to time the market here. I'm just not. I don't think it's actually, but anyways.
No one is.
Yeah, I know it is. I just bought consistently. Every paycheck I bought. If it was up, okay. If it was down, if it was the same, okay. I didn't worry about that. And over time, it works beautifully. And it doesn't take decades, like 40 years to do it. I did it in 6, okay, 6 years, but I had a very disciplined, aggressive approach, and I used my compass to keep me on track and not go off on tangents like I did for 40 years.
Maybe and the money, where is it coming? The money is coming from your sales business.
Yeah, my business. What fortunately, here's the beauty of this approach.
I want to know about how you make it.
Okay, but let me tell you, let me here's the secret. I didn't have to spend any mental energy every month thinking about the stock market and my investments because I had a set it and forget it approach. 5 minutes a month. So guess where I could spend all my mental energy, all my creativity, all my focus and drive in the business. That was the machine that I used to pump money into my investment accounts. But if I was thinking about Wall Street and investing and all day reading the stock market and looking at the news, I wouldn't have had time for my business. This freed me up to get an unfair advantage in my business because I didn't have to worry about the other stuff. And I really was able to push through on the deal and make it work.
So maybe I'm making the money. This part, you were doing sales. So what vehicle you doing for sales is commission only. So it's so which vehicle?
Mine is a very boring. Okay, I sell kind of insurance, B2B, business to business, and it's not something I don't think anyone would want to hear me talk about because it's extremely boring. But it's extremely lucrative too if you're good at it. It's highly competitive, but if you're good at it. But see, I got the chance now. I could focus on. I also read books on starting up my business because I had time once I had my investments and set it forget approach. I was reading books on startups, on sales, on marketing, and I was building a one-page compass for my business to make me the money. One compass was investing it and growing it. One compass was making it. You combine them, Harry, and you are unstoppable. I mean, that is a definition of my book of unstoppable. When you got your money pumping into the investments and you got your investments on autopilot, you can really move it like you've never seen before. And that's why I was able to accomplish in 6 years what I couldn't do in 40 years, doing it the old way, just, whatever.
So then, maybe how you find the vehicle? You find this insurance B2B that is a vehicle that it's highly competitive, but if you know how to sell it and you can sell it, make good commission, right?
Exactly. The thing is, I leverage my skills. I'm not saying that would be good for everybody. There's some people, they were meant to be an accountant, and that would be a nightmare for them to do what I'm doing. Okay. People were meant to be a brain surgeon, whatever it is. Okay. I think I was just born to be a salesman. Okay. I don't know. Maybe. And so I didn't try to do something I wasn't good at. I tried to do something that I had experience in, leverage my background, leverage my skills and talents. I'm not trying to brag and say I'm anything special. I'm like everybody else, but everybody has their own set of skills and talents and abilities. And I say, don't try to copy me and go into the same business I'm in, because some people, it just wouldn't work for everybody. You got to find your niche. I could never be in a law firm. That would drive me crazy. But people have made millions working in law firms and all that. And so you got to find what's good for you and not what's good for the other guy that you read about or heard about on a podcast or whatever, that kind of thing. That's my opinion, anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And but also you need to find that you're good at, but also that is a good vehicle. So clearly, the pro didn't give you a fixed salary, which is you're taking a big risk, okay, because you're not making any income, but the reward was worth it, right?
Exactly. Here's my thinking. I don't believe in taking big risks when it comes to investments and building wealth. I don't. But when it comes to your career, I believe, yes, taking risks is intelligent, because if you're willing to take more risk and work hard to make that risk work, the rewards, the payoff is phenomenal. I mean, I've made more money than I've ever made in my life. And I had 40 years of good income making, but this blows that away. It's just crazy because I was able to now take a risk. I wasn't in the corporate cocoon protected by the corporate world, which unfortunately they put a cap on what you can earn. I made really, really good money, but I couldn't blow my salary in 1 year like you can when you're an entrepreneur and you're doing it yourself. So I believe that's
maybe
important.
So what were you doing before with the money and change it? How you learn how to, you know what, I'm gonna buy a little bit in everything that is out there, and that's it. I'm not gonna touch it. And whether before, so tell us what changed and where did you learn this? How you came out with this strategy?
Yeah. Well, before, what I was doing, Harry, is I would hear a good guy in a book or give a talk, and I'd say, "Oh, that sounds good. I'm going to do that." Yeah. Little did I realize there's a conflict of interest there. He was selling you a pitch that was making him a lot of money, not necessarily you. And I kept falling for that. I mean, I just believe people, and so then that didn't work after a couple of years. So then I hear another pitch from somebody else in a different setting, in a different way. It sounded, oh, that's even better. The first one was a fool. This one's better. And then I'd fall for that. What I did when I was 63 is I says, I can't keep doing that. So I started reading, and I'll be honest with you, Harry, some of the books I read were garbage. I didn't count them by 21. I just stopped reading them after a chapter or two because I got the feeling now started understanding what these conflict of interest are, because I was reading some good books by people who don't have conflicts of interest, who have a history of incredible integrity, incredible success, and I don't have to worry about conflicts with them because they're not even pitching anything. There's nothing there. They're not selling anything. They're just giving you their advice. Those are the people I started listening to, and I suddenly, through the lies or through the deception of I tell you, Wall Street or the investment community, it is conflicts of interest. They want to make things so complicated for you. It's just ridiculous. Wall Street loves complexity, but here's the truth. Simplicity is for winners. Complexity is for victims. And Wall Street wants you to be a victim and need them and have to pay them their fees. And I found out you don't have to. It's not as complicated as they're trying to make it. It's actually quite simple. When you can do it with just 2 investments for 5 minutes a month, I mean, does it get any easier than that? And by the way, if you made the same money every month, you could just put on autopilot and have it automatically transfer. So you wouldn't even have to invest 5 minutes a month like me. You could put 0 a month. That's even better.
You don't need to touch it, right?
That's right. It's all handled.
Yeah. So it's can happen automatically. And even if it's down, okay, it goes down all at the same time, right? Because if you have
sometimes, let me tell you my whole view on going down. I remember one year, my brother's an investor too. I remember one year, this is back when I was in a 6-year period. One year was a terrible year for the stock market, and it went down. I poured a bunch of money in. I mean, Harry, I poured 6 figures for me. That was a good money. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's more than most people make in a year. And you know what happened at the end of the year? My portfolio was worth less. After I put all that money, it was worth less. And I call my brother. I go, I got the greatest news. I poured a ton of money and it's even worth less now. He goes, are you crazy, David? I go, no. Can you imagine the deals I got? I was buying stuff at fire sale prices. The next year, Harry, when the market was up, I had so many more shares because I bought them so cheap. My dollar now, and didn't buy me 1 share, it bought me 2 shares because it was so cheap. And now when it went up 2, 3, 4 times faster. So I say when the market is down, I'm doing a happy dance when the market's down. I'm doing a jig. My wife said once on how those cable news shows in the morning and whatever, finance shows, one morning they were claiming doom and gloom, and I was laughing at them. And my wife says, honey, you can't laugh. We got the stock market. They're saying it's going to go down worse. We got to do something. I said, honey, they don't know what they're talking about. Half the time they're wrong. I love Warren Buffett's quote. Here's what he says. Forecasts tell you a lot about the forecaster, but nothing about the market. That is so true. I don't listen to anybody on cable news. I just laugh. They're for entertainment purposes only. They're for investment purposes, that's for sure.
So, David, what message do you have for people out there that they are stuck? They think they want to move forward financially, but they blame I'm too old. It's the politics, it's the government, it's the country, it's my family, it's my children, and they're not moving forward. So what message?
A lot of people think, oh, if I made as much money as you do, David, or if I made as much money as Harry did, I could be investing, but I don't make that. I'm living paycheck to paycheck, buddy. We're barely making it. How can you think about investing? I don't have any money. Well, let me tell you why that's a lie. Okay, and I'll tell you the stats. The NBA, the National Basketball Association, the average player makes over $10 million a year. I didn't say in their career. I said in a single year. Yet, after 5 years of retirement, 60% of them are broke, according to the Netflix documentary Broke. And the NFL, the National Football League, is even worse. After only 2 years of retirement, 78% of them are either bankrupt are in serious financial stress, and that's according to Sports Illustrated. Now let's compare that to Dale
They
Schroeder.
cannot even pay the doctor because now they have injuries because when they play that game and now the bill from the doctor came expensive, they cannot even afford.
Exactly. And so they're worse off than before they even started playing the game. But now let me compare that to Dale Schroeder, a basketball-loving carpenter who made average to below average income his entire career. And yet he chose to live on less than you earn, which is what I meant when I mentioned earlier in the first one. He chose to live on less than you earn and invest the difference wisely. He ended up with a $3 million portfolio. That's more than most NFL and NBA players with their tens of millions of dollars. And what I understood about that, Harry,
carpenter. Oh, wow.
Yeah, carpenter. It's just a regular average to below average income, not even average some of the years. But here's what I discovered in my research and writing and my own personal experience. Making money is different than building wealth. You said that earlier yourself, Harry. Making money is different. Those basketball and football players, they were pros at making money. I mean, how many people do we know that make over $10 million a year? Not a lot of many people. You can count them on one hand, probably. Okay, yet they were terrible. Most of them, not all of them. Most of them were building wealth. Dale Schroeder, on the other hand, the carpenter, he was not so good at making money. He really wasn't, let's be honest, okay? But he was a master at building wealth. When you understand there's a difference between the two, you stop being a victim and say, I don't make as much money as Harry does or as much money as David does. And you start saying, wait a minute, if Dale Schroeder can do it, I can do it. And it's truly, the whole point of my book encompasses.
The barrier to entry is low. You don't need to put you can buy one share for each company, right?
Exactly. You can go on one of these like Robinhood app things. My son's on, okay? And you can buy for $1. You can start investing for $1. Don't tell me your listeners don't have $1. They all have $1. And then just keep adding to it. So there's no barrier to entry. You said it right. Any income, there's no barrier. The only barrier up here, saying I can't, I give up. That's
Then David, so to the young people starting the business and getting more deeper in the concept of wealth, right? We go there as an entrepreneur who want to make money. Nobody thinking even that there is another science which is keeping it there. With the dynamic is completely different than making it, and there are two skill sets. I think the more you practice, the better you become. Like, for example, you practice for 40 years to invest in this, invest in that, invest in it. And finally, after 40 years, you realize that, okay, you know what? This is the strategy that I'm going to do, and that's it. And it worked. Yeah. So it's a skill. The more you practice, the better you become. You will practice it for 40 years, eventually got it. But entrepreneurs out there, they are not even aware that making money is not the solution. Is becoming not only good entrepreneur. It's already 86% make like this capital less than $100,000 a year. So now we have this 14% of entrepreneurs that's going to make more than that. Actually, we'll be able to grow the company. And this little tiny piece, I haven't checked the statistic, but I think that a good portion of them, they won't be able to keep it because they haven't looked at the second part of the game, right? Which is build wealth. And so why very little people talk about this?
I think people think it's too complicated. And that's Wall Street's doing and financial people all over the world's doing. They want you to think it's complicated. They want you to think you need them, and it's not complicated. You don't need them. Can I give you an example so people can leave with a hard actual example of a tool? The biggest mistake people make, the biggest financial mistake is people are paying tiny fees like termites that are quietly, without them even realizing it, destroying their portfolio foundation. Let me explain what I'm talking about. Example, you got two people, A and B. Both say they're 25. We'll start out in their career. They're going to work for 40 years to 65, okay? They both decide to invest $25 a week, pretty modest amount, in investments, okay? Person A chooses to invest in a low-cost index fund with a 0.03% annual management fee. Person B goes to an advisor who charges the full 1%, which is standard, and they put them in an active fund with a 5.75 upfront load and a 0.66% ongoing management fee, which is very common. Okay. Now, let's fast forward 40 years. Same market returns, same exact contributions. Person A has a $1 million portfolio that was based on a modest $25 a week. Person B has a $570,000 portfolio. That's a $430,000 difference. That's not bad market returns. That's not market timing. That's not bad investment advice. That is strictly fees quietly in eating away at the portfolio month after month, year after year, decade after decade. And this is the sad thing. This is assuming they never got a raise. If normal raises, that difference could go from $430,000 to almost $1 million difference. But here's the saddest thing of all. Person B probably thinks he got good service. Well, he likes his advisor, knows his kids' names, went golfing once with him. Little did he realize he did the equivalent of funding someone else's retirement with his own money. And I tell you, I am not against advisors, but what I am against are products that enrich Wall Street at the expense of their clients' returns. And I'm embarrassed to admit this to you, Harry, but I'm admit it on international podcast here. For 40 years, I didn't question fees. I thought those are the rules of the game. That's what you got to do to play the game. You got to pay the fee. Little did I realize the fees we don't question can cost us the most. In person B's case, it cost him $430,000. Once I built my compass, I understood that. I followed it. I kept it laser focused on fees. And I tell you, it made all the difference.
So tell us a bit more about your compass.
Okay, sure, I will. I'm going to give you all the secret sauce. I'm going to give your viewers all
Absolutely.
of it for free.
That's amazing.
Here's the two sides. One is the 9 trail markers. This tells you how to get where you're at to where you want to be. And you know what I start with? Your career and income success. Because you know what? A lot of these books I read, the 20 books, they all kind of assume you were making good money. Otherwise, why are you reading the book? No, that's not the case. A lot of people aren't making good money. They really need help in this area. My first 2 chapters are all about how to make more money than where you're at, so you can get yourself up to, so you can get that engine going to feed your investments, okay? Then the other ones, like a debt freedom, wealth accumulation, each one of these takes you all the, and what's the beauty is you can start where you're at. You may say, oh, I got a good job, David, but I'm really having trouble with my credit card debt. Well, then you start with number 4. That's right. You can skip the first 2 if you already got those things. And then on the other side is the 5 North Star principles, which I talked about at the beginning of the show. That just keeps you in the right direction so you're not going off in tangents. But here's a little secret about this. Every one of these points has, say you want to get out of debt. But David, can you tell me more than just get out of debt in a couple of sentences here? I need more information. Well, it's a chapter 4. What you do is you go to the book to chapter 4, and it gives you all the details. This is like the ground game, the step-by-step, turn right at the light, turn left at the stop sign. This is like the 30,000-foot view. When you put these together, Harry, you got laser-like focus. You're like a machine now working at this thing. And that's the power of it. And what I do every week, I have it on my calendar, at 4 o'clock every Friday, I have a 2-minute wealth meeting with myself. My 2-minute wealth meeting is I sit down with this, I look at where I'm at, look where I want to go, what's next on the thing, and it just takes 2 minutes. But you know what it does for me? It keeps me out of trouble. Like a while back, I made an impulse purchase, okay? And that's not a good thing to do, okay? But when I had my meeting that week, I realized, impulses, I'm supposed to wait 24 hours before I did the impulse purchase to see if it's really true. Well, what the thing is, Harry, yeah, I did blow $100 or whatever it was for the impulse purchase, but it stopped me from keep doing it. I'm not 2 years down the road now figuring $100,000 later in impulse purchases. It just catches you before you go too further. So it's kind of like a nice behavior modification for you with 2 minutes a week. Have you ever read a book, Harry? And there was a great idea in the book, and you go, it's going to change my life. And then what happens? 2 years later, you come across the same idea, and you go, oh, I meant to do that. I forgot about it. Well, this stops that because you can't be trying to get out of debt and every week not do it. And every time you're in a meeting, you're saying, wait a minute, I got to start doing something here. It kind of nudges you to do what's right for yourself. That's what it's about.
Tell us a little bit more about the book, the title, because some people might be in the team. So what people can buy this book, your favorite chapter.
Yeah. Let me tell you about the book. First of all, I want to tell your listeners, because I know a lot of them are thinking right now, oh, another boring finance book. Let me have it when I want to go to sleep at night because that'll put me right to sleep. No, I wrote this book very different than that. I wrote this for the non-finance purchase, and it's full of stories that are true of people who succeeded, people who failed, myself included, and it just captures your attention. People say, I read the what not to do and what to do in the story. Then when you give me the principle, it makes so much sense. I've heard of that before, but I never understood it until I read your book. Thank you so much. And I'm looking on Amazon, tells you how far people read in the Kindle and the online ebook. They're reading the book to the end. They're not reading a chapter or two because they get captured with stories, but they learn principles. I like to share with you something because I think this is so important. It's a review, but I read every review, by the way, personally. This is from a clinical psychologist with 25 years experience, but no financial background. He was facing his own crisis, career crisis, and he said, the one-page compass gave me the exact financial hope and practical tips I needed. Here's my favorite part of the quote. I couldn't put the book down. I tell you, it's so, the stories are just what, true stories are what captivate you. And it's a gift. This is a gift for all of your people. Go to onepagewealthcompass.com/free, and they can download it with no cost. They can start using it for free. If they like it and want more information, they can get the book. It's very inexpensive. Pay back on Amazon. It's not much money at all. But when you got the two together, man, look out. I mean, you become unstoppable financially. Unstoppable, I believe. I truly believe it.
Maybe last message.
Yes.
Last message to you. For our audience about this, to learn what you are sharing and the impact. How to know what, number one, where do you find the strength? Because at 63 years old, lost your job, things are a disaster financially. So where do you find the strength to move forward and to change your situation so fast? And what do you recommend to their having entrepreneurs having darkness now? Things aren't working out for them. They're working really hard. They feel that they cannot handle it anymore. That they go out there and find a job.
Well, let me tell you, most people think the game is over at 63. I proved it's just the second half. And we all know championships, that's where they're made, in the second half. Please don't be thinking you're too late or too this or too that, because it's a lie. And I proved it's a lie. I tell you, here's my thinking. Clear direction beats misdirected speed every time. For 40 years, I had misdirected speed. I was spinning my wheels, making good money, going nowhere. Once I got that compass, I accomplished more in 6 years than I did in the previous 40 years put together. You just need clear direction. That's why my mission is to share this one page of clear direction to everybody for free. My company's making a wonderful money. It was our record year last year for us. I don't need to do this. I'm doing this because I want to get back. I was in a dark place and somebody handed me the inspiration of this compass in the storm. And I feel it'd be the ultimate in selfishness not to share with other people. So you can't really buy anything on my site. It's all free. Everything, the blog's free, everything's free. There is a link to the book for a paperback book, which is very inexpensive. But that's it. I just want to help people so they are in the same position I was in at 63 or maybe 53 or maybe 43 or 33 or any age. And that's my message.
Maybe, and then a lot of people are listening this conversation and they are in corporate and they want to do the transition to become an entrepreneur like you, and they are in the age, and they are listening to this podcast, and I say, well, some of them, I wish that I have the courage, yeah, and sometimes you see the worst day of your life, the best day of your life, like you've been fired and now you shifted. We have a lot of people in corporate listening to this podcast that want to do the transition, they are on the edge, but they spend on the edge for years.
Yeah.
Until one day they tell them, look, you're fired, we don't need you anymore. And then you have this house, you have the Ferrari, you have all these big things. Now you have to pay for everything. You get out of your job, you're 50, you're 60, you're 40, you're whatever, and now you have to figure it out everything from scratch, like you did. Whether plan the strategy gradually will be an easier path. So what advice do you think to the people with the transition from corporate to entrepreneurs? What you have done, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Not so many people can take so many notes. Not so many people can read Monday to Sunday and be unstoppable and have the discipline that you have, making the money that you have, investing your money. So what do you what can you show the people in corporate? You spend some like corporate, and look how you end up. Yeah. Uh, but at the same time, they say, wow, that is amazing. He's on calendar. Now he's a millionaire. He can go travel the world if he wants, and everybody only see the good things. But when you are after 63, you couldn't say anybody else anymore. This is not my job. Everything was your job. You're a corporate. Somebody can, David, do this. And no, I'm sorry, this is not my job. My job is clearly find somebody else. But now everything is your job. You don't know what's turning. So
Yeah.
that's a big challenge. Do you face in that transition? Are you going to that challenge? What advice do you have for people in corporate in the edge that want to be you, become you, they only see the good things?
Yeah.
Oh, they have a millionaire
Yeah.
now, in only 5 minutes, and it's amazing. And there is another part of that story. So
Yeah.
tell us a bit more about this.
Sure. Well, let me first, Harry, I want to be honest with all your listeners. When I was in that corporate job, I knew 8 years. I was with them for 18 years. I knew 8 years before I was fired, I should have quit. But I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to admit this on international podcast here. I didn't have the guts. I didn't have the guts. I was 50 some years old at that point, making really, really good money. I mean, I got to fly on private jets for the company. I had an unbelievable, great deal here. You don't just leave at 50 something and just start your own thing. That's just like, people don't do that. I didn't have the courage. They had to throw me out of the corporate nest. Okay. But looking back on that, Harry, that was the greatest gift they could have given me. As a matter of fact, I should send them a gift basket with a thank you card for firing me, because I needed that. I didn't have the gut. I wish I could have said on your show, I told them to take their job and shove it. I told them I got the, no, not me. I was so scared. I was afraid.
When they made you very comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
What
Life was
should be.
too comfortable. So my advice to people in the corporate world that want to get out is, first step is, get your financial house in order, so you're not like me at 63 with 2 years worth of runway before you're broke. There, no more money. If I had done this at 53, then when I was fired I would have been okay. So please get the free compass. It does not cost a penny, and just get your house in order. Do the 9 steps, find out where you're at, and get to financial freedom. Then you can write your own ticket. You can decide what you're in charge now. But right now, when your house is not in order financially, your boss is in charge, because if you don't do what he says, you're fired. Then you're really out. So that's what I would suggest. Get your five. Then you can live your dreams. I am living my dream. Harry, I can retire. I could have retired a couple years ago. I'm having too much fun. My son's joined my company. We had our record year last year. I love the volunteer work I do. I love writing this book and sharing it with people. I mean, for some people, we live on a beautiful, beautiful golf course. I look at those golfers behind us. I go, I hope you're having a good time. I'm sure they are, but that's not for me. That's not who I am. And retirement, I'm not against it, but I don't feel obligated to do it. I don't want to participate. I'm just having too much fun. That's my
Absolutely. Look, I live in London, and there is a there is a taxi company. It's a separate taxi company, like it's private. So bottom line, I use them a lot. So in the evening, every time I use them, and I know the drivers, so they drive around London all the time, and they also pick me up. I call the place. They say Harry's there. They go. They know where I live. I need to give address. I've been using them for years, and they all have houses in Spain. And one day I'm talking to one of them and said, "Look, man, you have your house in Spain. Why are you driving this car so much? You should go and spend and rest. You only go for a month or two. You should stay the whole year there and do nothing. Why are you driving this car?" And you know what they told me? They told me, Harry, the last 2 drivers that retired from the cab driver company, they died after a year. So nobody they don't want to retire. They want to keep driving. They play cards in the evening. They pick me up. They have a chat with me. They come back, and then they take holiday as usual. But they keep going on. I think that research have shown that if you have community and purpose, Okay, it have a big impact in longevity. I was reading about this as certain proof. So the more passionate about you are what you're doing, the more people you're gonna help because your story is very inspiring. Count on that. You know, somebody might be listening here that might be 50 and thinking that their life is over
they're just babies.
and
They're just babies at 50.
exactly. And look at you, what inspiring the story that you even from me. I'm going to be 49 tomorrow. Yeah. And
You're a baby. You're a baby.
and now you're thinking, wow, you see, now it's a fuel and ambition, what is possible just by listening to your story. Very, very, by the way, I'm definitely, when we do events in United States, I would love to bring you just to tell that story because I think that is very, very inspiring and
Thank you.
it can help a lot of people. So, David, thank you so much. So, one more, where people buy your book, where people
Sure.
they
Just
can
go to
website that they can download this.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit more. Tell us again.
onepagewealthcompass.com/free, and you'll download that immediately. If you like the compass and want to buy the book, it's on Amazon. You can get it through my site or just go to Amazon directly. It's called One Page Wealth Compass is the book. And that's it. I'm not selling nothing. I'm not pitching nothing. I'm just wanting to help people so they can live their best life ever. I'm 72. I'm 72, and I feel younger than when I was 52. Okay, I really do right now. I just love that's right.
Thank you so much. And for all of you, for you following the podcast, you know, next episode of the story about brave entrepreneurs like David, like 63, break the wall and make the best million now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.